How's it hanging, Rams? My name is Leah Cackowski, and I'm back, like always, to get you caught up on everything you need to know entering this weekend in CSU sports. From what to expect when men's hoops takes on Mountain West regular season champ Boise State right here on campus in Moby, to for once talk about some pro baseball, where I'll give you my thoughts on this terrible lockout situation going on right now in the MLB. All of that and much, much more here on Thursday Night Sports, which starts right now. To tip things off tonight, let's jump right back into men's hoops to talk about their major matchup to end off the regular season, this Saturday against Boise State. So after their perfect showing last week, and Wyoming's back-to-back L's against San Diego State and UNLV, CSU has jumped up to second place in the Mountain West standings, which, needless to say, gives them some great motivation entering this Senior Day showdown to secure in that number 2 spot. Even if the Broncos did come away with that conference regular season title on Tuesday with a dub over the Nevada Wolfpack. And with that whole situation in mind, the guys in the green and gold obviously bring in some high energy into this one, with, like I mentioned, recent wins over Wyoming and Utah State, who are both historically tough matchups for the Rams, while also seeing some underrated players like Kendall Moore and Chandler Jacobs rise to the challenge in a major way, with season-high scoring outings the last 2 times out. Oh, and don't forget about the defensive side of the ball, where this team has really shown out in as of late, proving that they're clearly ready to play at any given time, while also showing off the depth that this team truly has, which will surely be huge come this postseason. And with that, let's move on to the other side of the coin to look at Mountain West champs Boise State for a sec, who rides a 5-game winning streak coming into this one, since, you guessed it, their matchup against the Rams just a few weeks ago. Since this home L they took to the green and gold, it's clear that this BSU squad has been a completely different team, using the overtime loss as motivation to take down some solid programs along the way, including comfortable wins against Utah State and Nevada. Oh, and of course, another W versus the team the Rams can never seem to figure out, the UNLV Runnin' Rebs. But all right, let's pump the brakes there a little bit. It hasn't been all perfect for the Broncos over the past few weeks. With only a 1-point dub against San Diego State last Tuesday at home in Extra Mile Arena. In the end, though, Boise State has proven time and time again to simply find ways to win. And that can't be overlooked whatsoever with how tough this conference has been this year. So we mentioned the last time these two teams played. So let's take a further look at how CSU came up with the win, 77-74 in overtime. Well, to start, things were neck and neck from the get-go, with our favorite dynamic duo, David Roddy and Isaiah Stevens, coming through with bucket after bucket to keep the Rams alive throughout the afternoon, putting in a combined 32 points to lead CSU. Oh, and the spark for this squad, Chandler Jacobs, wasn't far behind either, with 16 critical points. But as the close final score indicates, the Broncos also had their stars come through, with guards Max Rice and Marcus Shaver Jr. going for 17 points each, and of course, playing the entirety of the game. At the end of the day, sure, it is Senior Day, and yet another sellout crowd for Moby Arena. But as Boise State has shown everyone this year, they won't just let CSU have its storybook ending to the regular season. They'll have to take it for themselves. So let's just hope the Rams come in with yet another winning game plan and change things up a bit from the last time these two faced off. And moving right along, let's dive into this crazy MLB lockout that's been going on for over 3 months now. Keeping in mind, before unfolding this situation kicked off, there hadn't been a lockout in pro baseball in 27 years. And on Tuesday, MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred and the MLB owners came out to say that they were canceling the first 2 series of the season, which, yes, sadly includes opening day, after no deal was reached between the players and union and league officials over the weekend. So obviously, there's a lot more to it than that brief rundown of things. So I'll break down all of the major details you need to know. But for now, here's a look into what Manfred had to say about the league's stance on Tuesday.
The calendar dictates that we're not going to be able to play the first 2 series of the regular season, and those games are officially canceled. We're prepared to continue negotiations. We've been informed that the MLBPA is headed back to New York, meaning that no agreement is possible until at least Thursday. As such, camps could not meaningfully operate until at least March 8th, leaving only 23 days before the scheduled opening day.
Wow, to me, all this has gotten way out of hand, and all the players want is to play. So without further ado, let's get into the why of all of this. First off is the issue over luxury tax. So, Major League Baseball has no salary cap. In place of this is luxury tax. So basically, players are not settled to a minimum amount of what they can make. Instead, teams are able to have a limit amount of what they can spend on players each season. So this is extremely important because it eliminates that salary cap. But however, when teams go over that tax amount, they do in fact get penalized. This can add up to a lot over the years, and that money ends up getting distributed to other teams and actually the owners' pockets as well. So, with the new proposal from the owners, starts that tax at $220 million for the first 3 years of the deal before increasing up to $230 million in 2026. But the players, they don't think that's good enough. Their offer included the tax to start at $238 million and increase $6 million each year. I feel like that is a fair deal because each year it guarantees players and teams a minimum amount of spending that they'll get and that it will increase over the years. And so with that, we cannot forget about salaries and free agent contracts as well. So with salaries and free agency, players have to spend at least 6 years in service time. So what that means is they have to be on a 40-man roster for at least 6 years before even being considered in free agency. So players obviously want to reduce that factor to at least 5 years, which I think myself is pretty reasonable because what the MLB owners end up doing is loopholing this situation, which means putting players down into the minor leagues or maybe not even giving their debut at all, which makes this 6 years way longer than expected. So the players obviously, like I said, they want that to be at least 5 years, and they also want a minimum salary increase. Players right now only get paid $570,000 at a minimum, and that is really not enough. When you have big-time players who are worth millions of dollars, they're stuck in this salary for at least a few years. So players want to increase this minimum salary to at least $725,000, but the owners only want to increase it to $700,000, which, I mean, come on, it's $25,000 extra dollars. So beyond all of these things and considerations, it's really this simple. There hasn't been any work stoppage for this league since 1995. And we've already had to experience a delayed start over the past few years to, well, a global pandemic. So these players are sick of waiting, and all they want is to get the money they deserve, and more importantly, to play the game they love. And sure, while the owners will complain about losing money to dead-end contracts, the players made them a whopping $11 billion this past season. So if you ask me, I think they can do with a few dud contracts. Overall, I think the owners are being extremely selfish, and while some may say baseball's a dying sport, they could be right if no agreement can be made. Fingers crossed I'll get to see my Yankees come this spring. And with that, Ram fans, that's all the sports action I have for you tonight. Be sure to tune in on Monday for another edition of Monday Night Sports. Have a wonderful weekend, stay safe, and we'll see you then.